Hi, everybody. I would like to say, first of all, thanks for being here today, and I hope you find this workshop useful and worth your time. You're probably here because there's something stopping you from getting the sleep you need called children. Please, let's grab a paper and pen and write down the name of each of your children and what time they went to bed last night. So we're going to do the name of each child, what time they went to bed, and if they woke up at all in the night, go ahead and write down how long you think they kept you awake, the duration of their awakenings in the night. Then I want you to write down what time you went to bed. And I know some of you maybe don't want to bother doing this, but if you would try it anyways, it's easier to figure out where to make improvements if you know just where you're sitting right now. So go ahead and write down your children, what time you think they went to bed. I'll just give you a minute to do that. I have 5 children of my own, so I put together my own in the next slide or two. So let's go on to the next slide. Now I want you to write down what time did your kids wake up this morning. So that's going to let you know what their total sleep time was. And then what time did you wake up this morning? What was your total sleep time? So here's an example of mine. All of our family secrets, what time we go to bed and get up. So these are my children, Taven, Ember, Allie, Kyler, and Jackson. And I estimated about what time they probably fell asleep around. We just got back from vacation, so they're still kind of going later. We usually try to put them to bed at 8:30. But they fell asleep around 9:30, between 9 and 10 last night, all of them, and woke up around 7:30. So then I have the total number of hours that they all got. And then I have mine. I went to bed around 11. I got up at 6. So that would be 7 hours minus the hour that Jackson was awake in the night. So I got 6 hours of sleep. So we're going to go on to the next slide and see just how that compares with the recommended hours of sleep. So I've got all my children's totals here. I'm going to go to the recommended hours. All right, so we've got Jackson is my 2-year-old, so he should be getting between 11 and 14 hours of sleep. So if we go back to my chart, he got 9 plus 1. So he is getting a little bit less than he should, at least today. Sometimes he'll take longer naps than others to make up that time. But he really should be probably going to bed earlier. Sometimes when I'm trying to do my schoolwork, we'll put on a show for him, and that kind of keeps him up later than normal because he wants to watch the show when really we should just lay down with him until he falls asleep in his bed, probably. So last night was one of those nights where he stayed up and watched for a little bit. So I could definitely improve in that area. Let's check my oldest. So my oldest just turned 11. So he's going to be in the school-age children, getting 9 to 11 hours. If we go back here, looks like he got 10. So he's in the right range for that. But for me, I should be getting 7 to 9. And like I said, 6 hours is what I got, which is not quite enough. So hopefully you can look at this chart and try to compare on where your children, how much sleep they're getting, how much they should be getting, how much sleep you're getting, just so you know in comparison where you could improve. Sometimes my husband and I will sit down at the beginning of the school year and say, okay, if we need to get our kids up at 6 a.m. or 6:30, how many hours of sleep do they need? And we'll go back and figure out what time they need to go to bed. Last year, we were putting our 4-year-old to sleep at 7:30. Our 5-year-old to sleep at 7:45. Our 7-year-old sleep at 8, and then our 10-year-old sleep at 8:15. So that was kind of nice because they all got a chance to lay in the bed by themselves instead of getting distracted by their siblings. So that worked out pretty good, and that was about the sleep they needed for their age. So this chart is very helpful. So now that you know kind of how much sleep you've been getting last night anyways, let's find out the reasons behind your time that you have for sleep. If you didn't get the recommended sleep, what were you doing as you stayed up? So for me and my husband, usually this consists of my schoolwork. He studies for his church things or work things, and so we'll watch a show together and we'll lose track of the time. So these are all things that we'll do. Sometimes I'll stay up and go shopping because my kids are in bed, and it's just hard to want to go to sleep when they're asleep. But you don't want to overdo your me time because then you're robbing yourself of the rest you need to function the next day. So one thing that I find helpful is to finish the night essentials before me time. So that when I feel tired, I don't still have that list to do. So for example, after I get the kids in bed, I'll brush my teeth, or I'll brush my teeth with them. And then I'll do the dishes after they've gone to bed. And that means that I can go to bed whenever I feel tired. I don't have that nagging in the back of my mind as I watch the show, and then I'm finally tired and I'm like, okay, I need to go to bed, but now I have to do the dishes and stuff when I'm already super tired. So this way, if you do all your essentials before you relax, then you can just wind down, spend that time relaxing, and then just go to bed when it's your time. You can ask yourself, did you have chocolate or caffeine within 4 hours of heading to bed? Stimulants like those can make it harder to fall asleep and don't let us sleep as deeply. So try to avoid those caffeinated drinks. Chocolate has caffeine in it, that's why it's on there. And another thing that I found is that to get your brain onto paper. So this just means write your to-do lists, write anything that you're thinking about that you don't want to have to remember in the morning. You know you'll just be able to have it on your list. I always make my to-do list the night before so that I know exactly the layout of the next day, the appointments I have, things that priority. This is number one, a thing I have to make sure I get done. So anything like that can really help you to relax and make sure that, your brain is not active and trying to think of all these things that you have to do because you've already written it down and planned it out. Okay, so let's think of other solutions. So one of the best things that I've found, which is one of the hardest, is making my kids have a consistent wake up time, because if they're sleeping, I want to sleep in, but then it makes it so they go to bed later, and it's just a vicious cycle. So if I consistently wake them up at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, then that means they're consistently tired and ready to go to bed at a certain time, and it just makes our schedule just a lot better. So that consistent wake up time really plays into a consistent bedtime, and it's very important. So my first advice would be to get your kids up at a certain time, whatever time that you decide, every day. And then another thing is think of who you would feel at ease leaving your child with or entering your home to watch them while you snag a nap. But I mean, what if you don't have any family around and not much money for a nanny or some sort of individual to come in? Maybe you can swap someone else who has a child time so that they can get a nap or something done themselves. Maybe you can cook them a meal or offer a different service in return. Maybe you can just give somebody a chance to serve you without any expectations in return on their part. Maybe you just have one child and you can rearrange your schedule to be able to sleep during the nap time if they have one. Maybe you can So this goes into the quiet time if you have multiple children. So we do a 20-minute quiet time right after lunch. We do lunch, and then they each have an afternoon chore, and then it's quiet time. So they get to read on their bed for 20 minutes, and it's just time so that I can do whatever I need to do, um, whether it's rest or just I look forward to that. So you can also do the cutoff time for chocolate caffeine, like we talked about. You can talk to a doctor about melatonin, which we actually use for my oldest son. He's got ADHD, and so his medication tends to create a little bit of insomnia, and so we do use that. Just look into that. It could be for you, it could not. Either way, that's just one option. And then also give consistent feedback with bedtime. So with your children, what we decided to do as a recommendation from a family counselor was we pushed bedtime earlier to 15 minutes earlier. So if we were sending our kids around to bed around 8 p.m., then we would send them to bed around 7:45, and we would say, okay, if you guys go to sleep without getting up in the night, or you can get up one time, and that's fine. Um, and whoever does that, they get to stay up for an extra 15 minutes. So then it was just a regular bedtime at 8. So we'd send everybody to bed at 7:45 unless they only got up one time or none the night before. And so that just creates a better positive parenting experience for them instead of saying, well, if you keep getting up, I'm going to, cut off cut off time and you're going to go to bed earlier than everybody else. So that's just a different way to do that. So I just really want to emphasize to everyone that as parents, we need to feel like we have value. We need to value ourselves. Like we are worth taking time every day so that when our children need us, we have something to give. Make sleep a priority for yourself. You can't take from an empty bucket. Stand up for yourself and fight for your rest because you're worth it. Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are because you can't just suck it up and go without sleep. You need the energy to do things and to do things that make you happy. Sleep affects everything, your mood, your decisions, your thoughts, your motivation, and your energy. So thank you for joining me for this workshop today, and I hope that you found it valuable.